This is Raul Hurtado's English podcast, and this is episode 4. This episode is about my song Little Sweet Bonds, a rock song about differences between people and how life is much more enjoyable when we create brotherly bonds with one another.
Make my heart sing. This is time cleanse here and there. I work with my friend, my disabled friend. On my way to have some tea, I leave my friend, my blind friend. Vast and diverse is our great blue world, and sorry for those who can feel its love. Vast and diverse is humanity.
Little Sweet Bonds is a song that talks about differences, a song about diversity. We hear in the song about a group of people who are very different from one another, but who see themselves as children of God, something that allows them to have a friendly attitude towards each other, despite their differences. The idea for the song came several months ago while thinking about how I would react if I had to meet people with different lifestyles, beliefs, and opinions all on the same day. I imagine differences in terms of religion or, for instance, people having some kind of disability. I imagine differences in terms of gender identity as in transgender people, or in terms of sexual orientation as in people who identify as gay. Differences in terms of life choices as in people who have problems with drugs or alcohol and live in the streets as a consequence of this. And last but not least, cultural differences, as when we meet foreigners living in our country who look and act very differently. At the beginning, I had trouble trying to deal with such a scenario, because having contact with people who have different lifestyles and points of view can seem overwhelming after some time. In my head, I set out to create a day where I would meet everyone without being judgmental and actually trying to have love and compassion towards them. As a result, I begin the song by saying, early in the morning I walk outside, I greet my friend, my Muslim friend, and that on my way to work I sit next to my friend, my Jewish friend. Our differences should never be an impediment for us to greet each other, to allow ourselves a sincere greeting such as good morning or hello. The simple act of sitting with respect next to someone who we recognize as belonging to another religion, even when we remain silent and don't say anything to each other, in a way shows the other person that we care about them, that they're not simply someone out there who we wish would not be there. People can sense many things without us ever saying a word, and that is why a polite, respectful attitude towards others can do so much good in simple situations such as sitting next to someone on a bus or a train. This took me then to realize that this positive scenario is, in most cases, only possible when people learn to see others as brothers and sisters. And I want to add here, only possible when people learn to see others as their brothers and sisters in God. The reason for this is that if we are unable to see any connection between ourselves and those who seem completely different from us, then love fades away, disappears, and there is no more respect for the other person, something that might take us to ignore or even mistreat someone who is different from us. Nothing positive can come from having people disconnect entirely from one another, from having people see only enemies where they are in reality brothers and sisters in God. The same idea can be applied to the other people I mentioned in the song, that is, people who have some kind of disability, the homeless, foreigners, and those who identify as gay or transgender. If we don't see a brother or a sister in each and every one of them, even when we don't agree with their lifestyles and choices, then we will entirely disconnect from one another and end up seeing enemies in them. This leads to discrimination from both sides, hatred, and ultimately, families and societies that break apart. It seems to me that for a society to stay healthy, it is necessary to start with ourselves, to start with making a sincere effort to change our negative attitudes towards those who think differently. It might happen then that as we make the effort to change, we find out that from the other side there is someone who is unwilling to change. I believe this should not discourage us, for we all change at our own pace. Nevertheless, when we make others feel that we care about them, even if we don't agree with them, this eventually creates those little sweet bonds that I mentioned in the song's title. Those small brotherly bonds that together make a big difference and that can transform societies and the world as a whole. Dealing with our differences without losing track of showing love and compassion to others seems like a better way around compared with imposing our point of view on others at all costs, something that has so often led to unfortunate consequences such as death, destruction, families, and societies torn apart. The question then is, are we willing to make our contribution? Let us talk about our differences. Yes, let us talk about why we don't agree with a particular lifestyle or choice. Yes, but let's do it while never losing sight of the fact that we are brothers and sisters in God, and that we owe love and respect to each other despite our differences. No one said this is easy to do, but it only takes a sincere, consistent effort from each of us to gradually make the change. Simply let no difference stop us from making the difference. Are we willing then to accept the challenge? Let's close the episode with my song Little Sweet Bonds. My name is Raul Hurtado. I am a pop rock singer-songwriter, and I will see you in the next episode with another great song.
Children of God, tonight, my friends, let's meet your company, make my heart sing. This is time plans here and there. I work with my friend, my disabled friend. On my way to have some tea, I leave my friend, my blind friend. Vast and diverse is our great blue world, and sorry for those who can feel its love. Vast and diverse is humanity, and happy for those who can live. My transgender friend. Turn my head and I see my friend in the corner there. It's my gay friend. We may have some differences, but